guys can hear me okay? There it is. I knew he had my back. I am Renee D'Onofrio. I am one of the school counselors here at the high school. So I was able to greet everyone when you came in, so welcome. I am the liaison for College Credit Plus for the district. So tonight is our interest meeting. I will let everyone know that I am recording, so it will be presented afterwards or shared out afterwards, just in case you miss anything, and the presentation will be shared too. If by any chance you need to get up and leave early, use the restroom, please feel free to. If you have questions throughout the presentation, you are welcome to ask them. And then, so we have a presenter from Kent State today, and then I will present a little bit right after that to give you an idea of what it looks, what the program looks like here at the high school. And then after that, you are welcome to do one-on-one questions for me or questions in general. We will try to stick to an hour, but if we go a little further than that, a little over that, if you have to go, totally fine, we completely get it. So, here we have Kara Parker, and she is from Kent State College Credit Plus. Yeah! Yay! Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay now? Okay. So my name is Kara Parker, as she mentioned. I'm from the Kent campus with Kent State University. I do have another colleague with me, Bethany. She's from our Geauga campus in the back. So I will be talking about College Credit Plus, some information that is required for you to hear from the state, and then I will get into how to specifically apply to CCP at Kent State University. So this will be a lot of information to take in at once. We have a small group here, so afterwards, feel free to shout out your questions. But I also always like to give out our email address, just in case we can't get to your question, or you don't want to ask it tonight, you want to think about it, ask it in an email. So if you would like to send us an email at any time with any questions, our email address is ccp@kent.edu. So ccp@kent.edu is our email address if you have any questions after this presentation. So I will go ahead and get started here. So this is just an agenda for what I'm going to go over. What is CCP, the benefits and risks, high school requirements, CCP requirements, and our application processes, and enrollment options. So what is CCP? So College Credit Plus is a statewide program. It allows 7th through 12th grade students to take college courses while still in middle school and high school. Now there are other states that have a similar program, which is called something different, so like concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment. It just happens to be called College Credit Plus here in the state of Ohio. So some of the benefits of the program, of course, the biggest benefit everyone always loves to talk about is that it is free to public school students. So when students register for courses, it does generate an account balance on their Kent State account, or the account for whatever university you plan to go to. And then we place on a tuition bill or a tuition waiver on your account, because as a public school student, your tuition is covered by your school district, which they love to pay for. Not only do they pay for your tuition, but they also pay for your textbooks, which they also love to pay for. So with textbooks and with college tuition, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with how much college can cost, but for example, at Kent State University, each college credit is around $456 per credit hour. Most of our courses are around 3 credit hours or more, so you can do the math there of how much one course could cost. Textbooks can range from up to, I had a student one time, their books for one semester came up to over $1,000. And so that's just for textbooks. So you can do the math there of how much you're saving yourself and your family when you participate in this program. Now, private school students and homeschool students are also able to participate. They just have to complete one additional step with applying for funding from the state to get their tuition covered. So if you have any family or friends who are homeschooled or private school, just know that they can still participate. They just have to complete a funding application from the state to get their tuition covered. Let's see, other benefits. Students will take courses to count for their high school graduation requirements. So for example, a lot of our students are juniors and seniors. We do have a great handful of 7th, 8th, 9th graders as well. But one of the benefits for students, if they still have any high school credit or high school graduation requirements to complete, they can take those courses at the college level. And so we always tell students, consult with your school counselor. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Consult with your school counselor on if you have any high school graduation requirements still left to complete before graduation and how you are able to take those courses at the college level. So just to give an example, for students who have to still complete like an English credit for high school graduation requirements, they can complete a course on our campus called College Writing 1 to satisfy 1 full year of English. So how that works is, whatever subject area you still need to complete for high school credit or high school graduation, you just have to take that same subject area at the college level, and that course has to be at least 3 credit hours or more. So again, for example, with English, if you still need to complete an English high school graduation requirement, you just have to take an English course with us within the English subject area, and that course has to be 3 credit hours or more. And you still have to meet requirements to get into certain courses, and we'll talk about that too. But that's sort of how that works. So those are really the top 2 benefits. There's multiple benefits of being a college student while still in middle school or high school, but those 2 stick out the most. It's free, and you're able to take college courses that count for your high school credit. So we have some students who only take maybe 1 or 2 courses at the high school, and then they'll go on campus or take courses online to satisfy the rest of their high school credits that they need. And there are some school students, a good handful of students, who may not even touch their high school at all because they either already completed their high school graduation requirements or they're completing them through the college. So those are some of the options. With benefits and risks, I'll actually skip through this because that's sort of coming up here. This slide here, this is what the state is determining as being a college-ready student. So certain requirements you have to meet to be eligible for College Credit Plus, but I always like to get more into the specifics of applying to a college. So some students may meet CCP state eligibility, but when you start applying to the colleges and universities you want to participate in, you have to meet the requirements of their admissions office. So I'll talk about specifics when it comes to applying to Kent State, but just know you may see that you meet the statewide eligibility, but if you plan to come to Kent or elsewhere, you still have to meet the requirements to actually get enrolled into their college. So again, these are the Ohio remediation free standards, again, the statewide eligibility requirements to participate. And so you'll have to have a certain test score, ACT, SAT, or AccuPlacer. Now I will throw in a lovely, confusing statement. Last year, due to COVID and due to testing centers being closed, many universities and colleges allowed students not to have taken a test to where we were able to accept students with just their academic record, their transcript, and their GPA. And so we accepted students who had at least a 3.0 or higher GPA. That may still come into play for the next academic year. We have not received final word, but we had some hearsay to where we may be able to accept students again next year by just looking at their high school transcripts to where you may not need to take a test score. So once we get that final word, we'll let your school counselor know, and if you have already been contacting our office, we'll remind you as well with those updates. We may not hear back until early next year if that's going to be final. So we always like to give upcoming ACT and SAT dates, but you can always go to the websites to view that. And so you go to act.org to find upcoming test dates, registration, and location, and the same for the SAT. You can go to collegeboard.org to find the upcoming test dates for those. So back to the advantages and the benefits and the risks of the program. One advantage is that it expands school curriculum. And so a lot of times students will come to us and say, either they may say they're bored in their class, and it doesn't mean like they're in a boring class. It means that they're they know the material very well, and they are able to take on another course that's a little more rigorous. So that's one reason why students will participate in the program, is to take those more rigorous courses. But we always like to tell students, remember, you're transferring from a high school class to a college class. So even though you're doing extremely well at the high school level, and possibly getting away with things at the high school level. I was a high school student too, so I know what that is. You may not be able to get away with a lot at the college level. So a lot of times students will come to us their first semester and they're struggling, and they didn't realize how different it is than their high school class. And we always like to point out too, when you're in high school, there may be a day where you forget to turn in an assignment, you may miss an exam, your teacher allows you to make it up at some point and you're all good to go. But at the college level, it's different. Sometimes professors will say, okay, we understand, let's schedule another date for you to take your exam or turn in your assignment. Some professors will say, I'm sorry, you missed it, it's a 0, hopefully you'll do better on your next assignment. And so that's one difference at the college level, is trying to understand that transition between a high school and a college course. So students just be aware of that. Just don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm so great at the high school classes, I'm going to be great at the college level, which you may be great at the college level. But just know about those differences between your high school assignments and your college assignments. We already talked about cost savings, but one success story I always like to mention with the program, we've had a couple of students who were able to accumulate so many credit hours while in CCP to where they were able to apply to their college and actually get their bachelor's degree within 1 year or less after high school graduation. So that's a lot of credit hours they've accumulated while in the program, and that's a lot of money they save themselves and their family. Again, at Kent State, $465 per credit hour. Most of our courses are 3 credit hours or more, so you can only imagine how much he saved himself and his family by participating in this program. Now, students, I'm not telling you to aim that high, because most of our students only take 1 or 2 courses, and you're still getting ahead of the game, you're still saving yourself money by doing so. And so you don't have to, have a full schedule at all times. Taking 1 or 2 courses, you're still kind of ahead of the game while participating in the program. Another benefit is that when you are in CCP, you are an actual college student, just like any other student on campus, meaning you'll have all the resources available to you like any other college student. So one of them is meeting with a career advisor, which I always suggest students do while they're participating in CCP. And a career advisor will kind of do assessments with you to determine your interest areas, what you like, what you don't like, trying to determine a career path for you. So even if you don't know what you want to do in life, or you do have an idea of what you want to do with your career, a career advisor can assist you with that pathway. They'll look at jobs that are available to you. They'll help you find internships. They'll let you know how much money you can make in that career and where those jobs are located in the world. And so that's a huge benefit with participating in the program. Knowing that you are an actual college student with all these other benefits and resources like any other college student has. On our campus, and as well as other campuses, we have a diverse learning environment. We have students from all over the world. So one thing I always want to point out, students, when you are in classes, whether or not they're on campus or online, just know these aren't just like CCP only courses, unless they're here at your high school, which I'll talk about. So with the courses on campus and online, you are in classes with other students, whether or not they're older than you, younger than you. You may be in a course with other CCP students, but no one in that classroom is going to know that you're in CCP. Your instructor, it's not like they have a list of who's in CCP, who's still in high school, who's still in middle school. It's up to you to let others know you're in CCP if you want to. I have a lot of students who, they didn't want their classmates or their instructors to know that they're in CCP, still in high school or middle school, which is fine. We get that call all the time saying, well, what classes are the CCP classes? All we do is give you a list of offerings that are offered at Kent State that CCP students are eligible for. So there aren't any like CCP only courses. We do offer courses here at Ravenna. Let me see if my brain's working today. And so we do offer a history course, and we offer a math course.
Yep.
Am I missing something?
Science will be coming back.
Science will be coming back, so you'll hear of that shortly. So talk to your school counselor on how that works with possibly taking the courses we offer here. And that happens with various high schools in the area. We offer college courses right at the high school location that's embedded into the high school schedule to where the student still receives that rigorous course, still receives college credit as if they were to take it on campus, but they don't have to leave their high school, which is pretty awesome. So talk to your school counselor if you're interested in one of the courses that we offer here to see how you are able to be enrolled. But we do offer courses on campus and online, of course. So I already talked about the risks of being in a rigorous course that transition between a high school class and a college course. In addition to that, with the classes that you're in, again, adult learning environment. You have students who are older than you, younger than you. You may cover topics that you may not know of while you're in high school. So we always like to tell students and families that as well. When you build your schedule, we always want you to work around anything else you may be going through in a week. So if you have a job, if you still have high school classes to take, if you're involved in extracurricular activities, we don't want you to ignore those things. We still want you to enjoy your time in middle school or high school. And then if you participate in CCP, make sure you have a good working schedule to where you can still participate in those activities while still taking your classes. So when you are admitted, you'll have an assigned academic advisor that will kind of help you solidify a good schedule for you, so where you can work around everything else you have going on within a week. Online courses are a great benefit for those who may struggle, with transportation or struggle trying to get somewhere in a certain amount of time. But we always like to say online courses aren't as easy as you would think. It's a lot of responsibility with online classes. A lot of times instructors will just give you a date when something's due. So let's say next Friday at 11:59 p.m., assignment 1 is due. And so a lot of times with online courses and the students, they're like, oh, I have a week to turn in my assignment. And they wait until that day or the day before to do so. And that's when they run into technical issues and other things going on to where they miss, those deadlines. And that's when that professor could say, I'm sorry, you get a 0, you missed the deadline. So online courses are a great benefit, but just know it does hold a lot of responsibility on the student. But again, there are so many resources available on our campus, and you can talk to your school counselor in our office if you find yourself struggling in your classes. Speaking of, we do want you to be successful in your courses, because if you are not successful, those grades do impact your college GPA and your high school GPA. So when you are enrolled in these courses, you are starting your college career. It starts your college transcript. That is permanent, and it will follow you for the rest of your life. And so if you find yourself struggling in courses, please contact us as soon as possible. Contact your school counselor, contact your advisor to make sure that you end up with a successful grade by the end of that term, because it will highly impact your college GPA and your high school GPA if you end up with not so good of grades. Financial risks, there are a couple. One of them, if you do find yourself struggling to where you do end up failing a course or you end up withdrawing from a course, your school district may seek reimbursement from you for that class, because most school districts will not pay for a course that you end up failing or withdrawing from. So as I said, as a public school student, your school district is responsible for paying your tuition and textbooks, but they're not going to pay for a course that you end up failing or withdrawing from. So again, very important to be successful in those courses to avoid that financial risk. Another, and I'm actually kind of skipping ahead, all students have a certain credit limit that they can't go over. There is a maximum of college courses that you are able to enroll in throughout an academic year. If you find yourself going over your specific credit limit that you'll consult with your school counselor on, if you find yourself going over your credit limit, you are responsible for paying Kent State University or whatever university you participate in at the full cost of tuition for whatever course or courses put you over. So just be sure, I'm going to mention school counselor a lot because they hold a lot of information. So just be sure to consult with your school counselor on your registrations, making sure you're not going over your credit limit, making sure you're not missing anything here at the high school, making sure you are taking a course that counts for your high school graduation requirements if needed. So your school counselor really holds a lot of information for you before even applying to the college level. Another thing we always like to point out, and this is more so for our younger students who may participate in the program, once you graduate high school or during your junior year, and you start to apply to the different colleges you want to go to after high school graduation, most of you will fill out what's called a FAFSA to receive federal aid to cover your tuition at that time. With federal aid, your credits that you accumulate while in CCP counts towards the maximum credit hours of federal aid. So with federal aid, the threshold is 180 credit hours. So basically, once you hit 180 college credits, you can no longer ask for federal loans to help you cover your college tuition. I only had that happen maybe once with a student where he accumulated so many credit hours while in CCP, he graduated high school, went to college, he started off, I think at junior, maybe senior status, accumulated so many credit hours at that time to where he hit that 180 credit hour threshold. He went through federal aid to try and get some federal loans to cover the rest of his tuition for his senior year, and he was not able to get that money distributed to him because he hit that maximum. So I've hardly seen that happen, but we always want to mention that, especially for our students who may start off participating in the 7th or 8th grade. So, high school requirements, I always again say consult with your school counselor about these items, but graduation requirements cannot be waived. Your CCP courses, they can fulfill some of the high school assessment requirements, but you may still be responsible for some assessments here at the high school. So please consult with your school counselor regarding those items. With grades, you will receive a final grade for the courses you register for, and most of you will receive a midterm grade as well. Some instructors may not post midterm grades, but they should, based on your status as a student on our campus. But just don't be surprised if you don't see a midterm grade for you. But if you do not receive a midterm grade, we always ask that students just have a separate meeting with their instructor so that they know where they stand in their course if they're curious. But we do send final grades to your school counselors. We do not send midterm grades, but we will send them any notification that we may get if you are struggling in your course. So sometimes we get what's called early alerts from professors. They'll say, so-and-so hasn't been showing up in my class or hasn't been turning in my assignments or whatnot. If we get notified of that, we will let your school counselor know. But your grades will be added onto your high school transcript. So again, very important to be successful in your college courses because it will impact your high school transcript and your high school GPA. If you are an athlete, you are able to still participate in the program. There are certain requirements you have to meet to be eligible. So again, consult with your school counselor. If you are an athlete wanting to participate in CCP, they'll let you know about those requirements. I already talked about textbooks, but one thing I do want to emphasize is that each high school, they are able to provide textbooks to their student in any way they choose. Now, most of our school districts will use a bookstore on campus called Barnes & Noble, to where once you're registered for your courses, you'll come on campus to Barnes & Noble, get your books, and you're good to go. Some high schools have their own library of books to where they'll have you search through their library first before heading to our bookstore, or they may provide books to you another way. So we always say consult with your school counselor before getting the books on your own so that they can let you know how you specifically are to get your books. CCP requirements for your participation in CCP. So I just want to emphasize, with your participating in this info session, this kind of starts those requirements that need met in order to participate. So there's several steps you have to take before actually enrolling in a course. So one of them is attending a session like this. Your school counselor will go over some items that you have to meet here at the high school. One of them is a letter of intent. This is, students and families think this is almost like a contract. It is not. It is a form that you have to sign that's letting your school district know, hey, I may be participating in this program next year. If you end up submitting that form and you don't participate, that's fine, nothing happens. But if you forget to turn in that form and you still want to participate, there's a good chance your high school or middle school may say, sorry, you didn't turn in this form, you can't participate this year, you have to try again next year unless you're graduating, which wouldn't be good. But letter of intent, the state has a deadline of April 1st. Your school counselor may have an earlier deadline in time to gather those forms from you prior to the April 1st deadline. But just know that form is for a participation for the next full academic year, so summer, fall, or spring. So if you are interested in just participating, let's say for spring 2023, this April 1st deadline of this upcoming year still applies. And so we have students who wait until spring semester to apply to CCP. We'll make sure that they submitted a letter of intent to their school counselor, and some of them have not because they didn't think they had to for that next following semester. But it does still apply. So April 1st, letter of intent, very important for summer, fall, and or the following spring participation. Also with CCP, you are able to participate at any university or college in the state of Ohio, and you can participate in multiple universities or colleges at the same time. So for example, we have a couple of classes at various high schools where that high school offers a course through Kent, through Akron, through possibly like Stark State, and students take courses through all those universities within the same semester, which you are able to do. But we like families and students to know you still have to follow the requirements and deadlines of those colleges and universities, because we all have different processes. We have different processes of how you apply, orientation, when you're actually able to register for a course. So if you're interested in multiple colleges and universities, just be sure that you're following all of our policies and deadlines and processes in order to actually be enrolled in the class. So we do, our students are able to apply summer, fall, and spring, as I said. Now, when you do apply, just know that you only have to submit one application. So if you apply for the summer and you're admitted for the summer, you're admitted for summer, fall, and spring. If you apply for fall and you're admitted for fall, you're admitted for fall and spring. And then if you apply for spring, you're only admitted for that semester. The same goes for if you want to participate, like with Kent State, we have 8 different regional campuses. And so let's say you apply to Kent State, you want to take some courses on our campus, and you want to take some courses at the Twinsburg Regional Center. You only have to submit one application. So if you submit it to the Kent campus, your Kent campus advisor can assist you with registering for courses through the Kent campus and through a regional campus, if that's what you choose to do. So just remember, it's just one application. So this is where the credit limits come into play. So each academic year, now mind you, summer starts the beginning of an academic year. So it's summer, fall, and spring. So each academic year, students are eligible for up to 30 credit hours that they can accumulate within an academic year. But those 30 hours include your high school classes. And so there's a formula that your school counselor will do to determine how many college courses you're actually able to register for throughout the academic year. And they'll let you know that number during your counseling with your school counselor. Once you are aware of how many courses you can register for, then you'll let your academic advisor know so that it's noted not to go over a certain number of credit hours. If you start off in the 7th grade, just know you have a maximum of 120 credit hours throughout your CCP participation. And if you are a senior participating in the program, you cannot participate beyond the spring semester of your senior year. So if there are any seniors in the room right now, obviously you're graduating this coming spring. Unfortunately, you're not eligible for the next academic year. And if you haven't applied to our campus, unfortunately you're not eligible for spring semester either, because our spring application deadline has passed. It was on October 15th. So this is a chart that talks about the formula that your school counselor will do to determine how many credit hours you're eligible for. So just to give it an example, let's say you're still taking 3 regular high school classes in an academic year. What they do is they take that number, they times it by 3, so that equals 9, and you'll subtract that from 30, and that gives you 21 credit hours. So that means you have 21 college credits you're able to enroll in throughout the academic year. Now mind you, again, summer starts the beginning of an academic year, so if you want to start participating in the summer, and you are aware of how many credit hours you have left throughout the summer, fall, and spring, make sure you spread them out accordingly, or as you wish, because sometimes students will hit their credit limit and they take a lot of courses during the summertime, and then they start running out between the fall and spring semester, and then they can't participate. Well, technically, if you go over, or if you already hit your maximum level of credit hours, technically you can still participate. You just have to then self-pay for whatever courses you register for. So let's say by the end of fall semester, you hit your 30 credit hour maximum. That following spring, you can participate still in some college courses. You just have to pay for them on your own at the college tuition. So just know that is an option. Also, if you do not plan to come to Kent State, or let's say you do participate in CCP at Kent State University, but if you don't plan to come to Kent State after high school graduation, which I hope all of you do, but if you decide not to, just know you must submit your Kent State transcript to be sent to the other college or university you plan to go to. We do not do that in our office. We get that question probably weekly, asking someone from our office to send their transcript to, let's say, Ohio State or whatnot. So that is your responsibility as a student to make sure you send your Kent State transcript to your other college or university. Now, if you participate in CCP at Kent State and you plan to come to Kent State after high school, then you don't have to send anything. It's on the same academic record at Kent State University. In addition, if you plan to participate in CCP at Kent State, but again, if you don't plan to come after high school graduation, be sure to connect with an advisor at your other college or university you plan to go to check on how your Kent State credit hours or how your Kent State courses will transfer to that other college. So we always give out this website, transfercredit.ohio.gov, that will show you the results of a Kent State course and how it will transfer to another Ohio public college or university. But to be 100% certain, we always tell students to just have an advising appointment at the other college you plan to go to get the most up-to-date information of how a Kent State course will transfer there. So there is an eligibility rule when it comes to the courses you're able to enroll in. And as I said, students may meet the state eligibility, and then they have to meet the admissions eligibility at the college they plan to go to. But then you have to meet the requirements to actually get in the course. So sometimes we have students who meet the state eligibility, they meet the requirements of the admissions office of the college they want to go to, and they have a certain course they want to take, but they don't meet the requirements to actually enroll in the course. So sometimes we do have some students who are admitted, but not enrolled because they never met the requirements to actually get into that class. And so that's one thing to pay attention to is the allowable courses rule. So your school counselor will have this information for you as well, because it looks kind of confusing right now. But when you start off in CCP, your first set of 15 credit hours have to be within what's called level 1 coursework. And so those are like your transferable courses. Out on the table, if you guys grabbed it, I provided a Kent Core requirements handout. Those courses are considered level 1. Most of our students will start off by taking courses out of the Kent Core. There are courses outside of the Kent Core that you're able to take that are also considered level 1. We just ask that you consult out with your advisor and school counselor just to be sure. Once you hit 15 credit hours, then you're able to move on to level 2 coursework, which is basically any other course at the university as long as you meet the requirements to get into that class. There also are courses, I also wanted to mention, a lot of times students don't even hit that 15 credit hour mark, which is fine. Again, a lot of students only take 1 or 2 courses, and so if you never go over 15 credit hours, just know you're just going to have to stick with the level 1 coursework, which are still a lot of courses to choose from. Now there are courses that are non-allowable at all. They're not considered level 1 or level 2. They're just considered non-allowable from the state. So these are those here. Now one of them I always like to point out are the physical education courses. Because in the past, students were able to take phys ed courses on our campus that count for their gym credit. So a lot of students got out of taking gym at the high school, and they were able to participate in our phys ed courses on our campus, which included like rock climbing, scuba diving, and all the fun stuff. But the state got rid of that option. But technically, if you are very interested in a non-allowable course, technically you are able to take it as long as you self-pay for it. So overall, your school district will not cover the non-allowable courses. But if you find yourself interested, just like students who still are trying to get out of the gym and want to take a phys ed courses with us, so if you are interested in a non-allowable course, you are able to take it. You just have to self-pay at the Kent State college tuition. If you do find yourself struggling in your course, which none of you will do, right? But if you do find yourself struggling, there is what's called an underperforming rule that your school counselor will go over with you. So if you find yourself getting a D or an F or withdrawing from a course, there are certain policies you have to go through in order to continue to participate in CCP your next semester. You may have a limit of how many courses you're able to take that next semester, or you may be dismissed from the program altogether. So again, we want you to be successful in your courses, and I cannot emphasize enough, if you find yourself struggling, contact us immediately, your school counselor, your advisor, so we can help you achieve that successful grade by the end of a semester. So as courses summarized, again, you must follow the state policies. As a university, we have to follow the state policies as well. It's not just a Kent State thing, it's a statewide program again. We don't want you to take any course just because. We want your courses to make sense. So think about the courses you want to take, consult with your advisor and your school counselor. Does it count for your high school graduation requirements? Does it count towards a major you want to get into? So just don't pick any old random course just because it sounds fun. Make sure that your schedule makes sense. All right, so how to apply to CCP at Kent State. So we do have an online application. On our handout, and I can give it to you now, our website is www.kent.edu/CCP. On there, you'll find an Apply Now button towards the middle of the screen that you'll click on, and you'll submit the online portion of the application. In addition to the online portion, you must also submit a CCP permission form. That's also found on our website. It's a PDF that you'll have to print off and sign and send back to us. That needs to be signed by the student and at least one parent or guardian. Your school counselor will have to send us a current school transcript so our assistant director can review your academic record and make sure you meet the GPA requirement. And then as of today, we'll need a test score, ACT, SAT. Now we at the Kent campus have started to accept AccuPlacer for those who are familiar. So ACT, SAT, or AccuPlacer is currently acceptable. But again, we'll let your school counselor know if that's going to be a 100% requirement moving into the next academic year. If it is not, then we just go by your school transcript, your academic record, and your GPA. So once you are admitted to the program, let me go over application deadlines. If you want to start participating in the summer, our deadline is April 15th. Fall deadline is June 1st. Spring deadline is October 15th. And again, you just have to submit one application. So if you submit on a summer app by April 15th and you're admitted, you're still admitted for fall and spring semester. So if you are a new student, once you are admitted to the program, you must complete an online application. I'm sorry, not an application. You must complete an online Ccp Orientation. Once you complete that, then you'll register for an orientation advising appointment. In the past, we've had those appointments on campus where you came on campus, we had a tour, we had some speakers, and then you met with your advisor. This past year, we couldn't hold any on-campus events, so it was all virtual. So as of this moment, it will be virtual again. We're hoping to be able to have on-campus events next summer. We just haven't got that word yet if we're able to. So just know it is a possibility that once you're admitted, you'll have to come on campus for your advising appointment. If you are a current student, or once you do become a student and you plan to participate that next year, all you'll need to do is submit a CCP continuation form that we usually send out the spring semester. You'll submit it back to us, and then we'll let you know when you can schedule an advising appointment. So returning students do not have to complete another application. It's just a one quick continuation form to let us know that they plan to continue that next academic year. So these are some resources on our campus. Again, as a CCP student, you are an actual college student. So some resources on our campus include having an assigned academic advisor that you can go to with your questions at any time. You can ask them about your CCP courses you're taking. You can ask them about Kent State altogether. You can ask them about a major that you may be interested in. We have the Academic Success Center where students go for tutoring services. If you find yourself struggling in a course, you have free tutoring. Even if you are not struggling in a course, I always tell students still connect with a tutor just to try to maintain that AB status. For students who are on like a IEP or 504, we do have student accessibility services that can assist you at the college level as well. And there's a lot of technology offerings available to you and free things you can download. During your orientation, once you're admitted, we have someone from technology that talks to you about these things too. Other opportunities, we have a foreign language academy. However, they're not offering it this coming year. So if they do bring it back, it's a program where students who are interested in a foreign language, I think the last time they offered Russian and Chinese, to where in the summertime, students stayed on campus in the honors dorms for about 4 weeks, and they immersed themselves in their chosen language. And then they took a course on that language one Saturday per month up until the end of spring semester and earned 4 college credits for that program. For those who may be interested in the science, we have a science internship students participate in. That actually has a separate application, so you'll have to apply to CCP and apply for the science internship if you're interested in that. So we have, on our website, there's a special programs tab where you'll find the science internship application and information to apply. So what happens is students will add in their a science area they're interested in, so let's say chemistry, physics, computer science. And then we have a coordinator who will look at your information you submitted and try to match you up with a faculty advisor on our campus who's doing research in that area. And then you have to meet with your matched person for at least 45 hours within a semester, and you will receive 1 college credit and an actual grade. And so students who are interested in a science really, really love this program. They actually continue interning even after they graduate high school, because eventually sometimes their work gets published in different articles. I've had students who got to present on their projects out in Chicago. I've had a student be invited to participate at some science event out in London, which was great. So it's a great opportunity, especially if you have an interest in a science area. If you are familiar with our campus, we have our Student Recreation and Wellness Center where students go and hang out, work out. There's a huge swimming pool, basketball court, things like that. If you are registered for at least 5 campus credit hours, you are eligible to enter into the Rec Center for free instead of actually buying a membership to get in. And then we have our own CCP student organization that was actually started by a CCP student. Because as I said, when you're on campus, you really don't know who else is in CCP. And so a student came to us a few years ago wanting to get more connected with other CCP students. And that's how the organization came about. So it's an organization just for CCP students where they'll go and hang out and have lunch and have coffee. They went bowling and to the movies, and they did a lot of volunteer work, things like that. So that's another opportunity at our campus. So I know that's a lot of information. In summary, letter of intent, very important. Your school counselor will go over that with you. Make sure you apply to the colleges you plan to participate in by their deadlines and follow the policies and requirements to get registered for courses. If anything happens throughout your time participating in CCP to where it interrupts your, the work that you do in your classes, let us know immediately, let your instructor know immediately. We have students who come to us when final grades are posted and say, oh yeah, 3 months ago, my uncle passed away and blah, blah, And so just let us know immediately when something interrupts, especially your course time. If you are a senior or once you do become a senior while participating in CCP, just know that your College Credit Plus application doesn't automatically switch to a new freshman application. You still must submit a new freshman application if you plan to come to Kinsey or wherever, and that you still have to follow the steps as a new freshman would when applying to a college or university. There is one thing I must have missed on here. I want to talk about the FERPA. It's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And so overall students, whether or not you're in 7th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, once you are enrolled in a course, you're treated as an adult. So what that means, and parents, I don't know if you'll like this very much, but what that means is that your student kind of holds their own record. So sometimes parents will call us and ask us about their student schedule or try to make a change to their student schedule or try to connect with their professor. Most of the time we cannot provide that information for you. We tell you you must get it from your student or we must talk to your student directly. So we had a few instances on campus where parents were just simply trying to help out their student in certain things and calling different offices trying to set things up. But the people they talked to couldn't assist them. We had to hang up and say, I'm sorry, we had to talk directly to your student. We can't provide this information to you. So there is a barrier when it comes to your student. Once they're registered for a course, there is a barrier of information that we cannot provide you. You have to get that from your student, or we have to just talk directly to your student in those cases. And then again, as you apply, when you become a new freshman, you have to follow all the steps a new freshman would, which includes submitting your FAFSA and then getting your transcripts submitted if you don't plan to go to the school that you participated in CCP. And that is really all I have for you today. Again, I'm the program officer for an office on campus. It's pre-college programs, and in my office is Kristen Bechter, who's our assistant director. So if you guys ever connect with our office, most likely you'll talk to myself or her, but you can always email our general email address, ccp@kent.edu, if you have any questions. other than that, that was a lot of information, wasn't it? Are there any questions in the room right now that we can help you answer? It's too much. It was too much, wasn't it? It was too much. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so it comes me. I'm back, hey. I'm just going to take a little bit of time then to reiterate a little bit of what Kara presented and that process and the pieces that you as Ravenna students need to know in the CCP program if you do decide to continue with the program, apply to the program, and get admitted to the program. So, real quick, I gave you a whole lot of information. But the paperwork that I gave, and if you're watching the recording, after you watch the recording, email me. I will share. Oh, are you still recording? Okay, good. I'm sorry. Email me. I will share all of this paperwork with you, or we can do this in person. However, if you're here with me right now, there are 3 forms that I shared that need to be signed and returned to me by April 1st. As Kara has said multiple times, that letter of intent is the one that says intent to participate in College Credit Plus academic year 22-23. This one needs to be signed and returned to me by April 1st, along with our 2 Ravenna forms. One is the potential risks and consequences. It's just reiterating that you understand what the program really is, what consequences and risks could come about. And then the purpose and enrollment regulations, that's that 3rd page. If you have questions about those, please let me know. But all of those need to be returned to me by April 1st. You can drop them off in our counseling office. You can actually, if you're at the middle school this year, you can hand them to Mrs. Pumper or Mrs. Van Fossen, and they will, in our office, them to me. Not a problem at all. You can turn them into me tonight. Totally up to you. Then, the other piece. I do a quick, short-ish packet for CCP. A lot of the information in here has already been reviewed. But I put it to you guys in writing so you have that information in your hand. So that 2nd page, if you need to get a hold of us, all 3 of us counselors are out here, including my secretary and our extensions, along with our principals in the building if you have questions for any one of us. That next page after that is a bunch of typical questions that are asked that Kara touched upon almost all of them. Honor roll is a question here. Honor roll only. CCP grades only play into honor roll for the end of 2nd quarter and the end of 4th quarter because of midterm grades not being submitted to us. It goes off of final grades. How will CCP classes appear on your high school transcript? By final grades. It will say the college class. It will also say the college that you are taking the class through. All right. So those are a few ones I wanted to point out and reiterate. If you are in the program and you fail a CCP class or withdraw after a specific date, Ravenna High School or Ravenna School District does reimburse or does ask for reimbursement. So there will be a bill that is sent. However, you have so many options to avoid that well before we get to that piece. Okay, and then the biggest thing that I get to share with you is here at Ravenna High School, and this would be for my CCP students who are at the high school or in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade next year. This does not pertain if you're a 7th or 8th grader next year. If you are in the high school next year, we do monthly meetings. They are mandatory, they are required. That means I can keep an eye on you. I do get every year 1-2 students who are fully College Credit Plus, not on our campus, most of the time fully at Kent State. So I only see them
when they contact me or they pop in. This is my way of keeping an eye on you and keeping that communication open. So, I put the dates there. I cannot promise you that all of them will stay the same, considering I am a year in advance, but the meetings are here in the building, and they start on Friday. They're on Fridays. They start at 7:10 in the morning. This year, past years, I've done it 2:30. 2:30 on a Friday does not sound fun whatsoever. 7:15 on a Friday doesn't sound fun whatsoever. However, most colleges really don't have Friday classes anymore. You guys have some? I haven't run into many of my students having them anymore, but 7:15 is the time for my 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade CCP students that will meet with me. Dates are on there. Ideally giving them to you early enough so that it is on the calendar if you do CCP. Like I said, they are mandatory. The first one in August, I give you a little bit of leeway. It's at 8 o'clock. Parents are welcome to that one. It's got a lot of info. I also offer those at this moment, as long as we continue having Google Classroom, I offer them virtually. So if you guys want to hang out home and do virtually join me, totally fine. Okay, then the next piece that I know is very important. The classes that are here in our building, that are CCP classes. Like Kara shared, we've got Kent State classes. We've got Modern America, which is a history class. We've got 2 math classes. Both our ALEKS placement test is required for that one. And then we have had in the past, and the plan is to bring back next year, 7 ideas and Frontiers in Astronomy, so a couple science classes. Those classes are Kent State classes taught in our building by our teachers. So, my suggestion is maybe keep an eye on and make that a priority as a potential first class to look at, or classes to look at, starting in the CCP program, because we have more contact with you. If you're a freshman, you don't know our student or our staff, but sophomores, juniors, seniors, you know our staff. It's better with the transition. It helps with the transition. Next year, we also have Stark State classes in our building. One Stark State class that we offer is called IDS 115, and that's a college and career skills. All freshmen take it. So if you're a current 8th grader, you have to take that class anyway. So this is a great opportunity to get college credit for it anyway. Forward thinking in the February parent-teacher conferences at the middle school, I will be there. I can always follow up and answer questions specifically about that. But college and career readiness, all freshmen take every year. It can also be taken as a Stark State class. This is a time that you can get college credit. We are also offering, and these are going to be absolutely new next year, personal finance and computer applications for professionals through Stark State, taught by our business teacher, Mrs. Savinsky here. That is an option, but please remember, if you want to take a Kent State class here or a Stark State class here, or both, which is an option, you have to apply to the colleges. So both Kent and Stark if you want to take those classes. And the next piece is this textbook process. Here at Ravenna, we have all of our students go to our library in our building first to check to see if we have any of the textbooks that your professors are requiring. If we don't, then we send you to the college. For Kent State, we do send you to the Barnes & Nobles on campus. If you get into CCP, I will walk you through all that. And then the last page on the back, I provide a list of Kent State CCP classes that our students typically take that are very popular and that they do well in. So that kind of gives you a little bit of direction of what to potentially look at first. Now, we invite Kent State to present tonight. I talk about Kent State a lot because we have it in our building. This year, all of my CCP students, almost all of them, are Kent State students. Last year, they were all Kent State students. It's the most, what do I say, It's popular, most accessible, most, I've got a lot of words I can throw in there, but since they are the closest, and if you take classes on campus, you guys get to provide the transportation, it's one that we work very closely with. So I will always promote Kent State. However, any college or university in Ohio you can apply to for CCP. Okay. Questions? Awesome. We know, and I know we've said it 20 million times, a lot of information. Once again, I'm Renee D'Onofrio, counselor here at the high school. I am the CCP Liaison. I'm the guru. I love this program. There's a lot of information and a lot of details that if you ask me the same question 20 different times, I will never get mad at you because it's hard to understand at times. So contact me if you have any questions. You are welcome to also stay around. I can stay around for just a little bit and answer one-on-one questions. I will give you my professional experiences. I will give you my personal experiences with the program. Whatever you ask me, I will totally answer. Remember, we also have Kara Parker up here that she can answer any questions. And then Kent State Giaga, right? Giaga? Yeah. Twinsburg. Oh my gosh, you're right. She is back there to answer any of those questions. So, thanks for coming, and I will see or talk to you soon, or welcome. Yay.